Thank you again for joining us. This virtual office hours is a monthly series of presentations that is put on by the Vermont Historical Records Program, which is a part of the Vermont Secretary of State and Records Administration. We are generously funded by the National Historical Publications and Records Commission and the Vermont Secretary of State's office. Um, the VHRP mission is to improve public access to and engagement with historical records. And I always write and in all capitals, to encourage and facilitate collaborative efforts among Vermont's historical records repositories. Before we begin, I just wanted to note that we are recording the presentation, and we will upload this to the VHRP YouTube channel after the presentation. And feel free to ask questions during the presentation, add them to the chat, or wait for the Q&A as well. Okay, so first when I was putting this presentation together, I was thinking about what I like about digitizing materials, and my absolute favorite part is getting all the material out and just to start scanning. But there are several things that we need to consider before we jump to that scanning part, and that's what this presentation is about. So. What we want to do is to get ourselves thinking about some of the key considerations before we begin that scanning process. The purpose of planning is to optimize its outcome. So to document what we're going to do, figure out what people are going to do, what we're going to scan to make the project more successful at the end. So these are a few large questions to ask before we get going. And for this digitization presentation, it's geared mainly towards historical societies. So you'll note a lot of things specific to historical societies or public libraries. And then for towns, I have a little bit of information on this slide that we'll get to. But first off, why are we scanning the materials? What's the purpose of this project? Are we just trying to clear space, put things away? It seems obvious when we say the word scanning what we're going to do. That we want to have a version that lasts forever, or we don't need to keep the physical copy, or we can find everything more easily. But with scanning, it's not a magic bullet and it doesn't solve these problems. So scanning materials means you now have two formats to maintain, a digital format and a physical format. It means you will need to take extra steps to keep the digital format relevant and findable through the years. Scanning does have positives that can help support your mission, including think about a digitized photograph. How having one physical copy of a photograph, you may be able to share when somebody comes, if it's on exhibit or in your research collections. But with a digitized copy, you can share that online. You can put it on your social media accounts. You can add it to an online exhibit. So I wanted to bring up a mission as well, and that is the VHRP mission, which I always start the presentations with. And part of that is to improve public access to historical records. So that is the viewpoint that I am taking on this presentation, is doing digitization projects to improve public access. Now, this may also bring up the question for you: does this project support our organization's mission? Does it help our audience engage with the material, with the history in our community? Does it, or you may have a legal requirement to provide public access. And this is a point that I wanted to make for town records. Um, municipalities hold permanent records that they are legal custodians of, and there are special legal requirements that need to be followed when doing a digitization project. So I wanted to provide some contact information for my colleagues at the Vermont State Archives and Records Administration. Our record specialists can be contacted by the email on the screen, and I'll make sure that this is sent in the follow-up email to start a digitization project. They can help you identify the needs and requirements for your projects. All right. So the next step to consider is access, preservation, or both. We've determined that we are doing a digitization project to make some of our photographs in our collection of our local community available online. But how are we going to capture those materials? With a digitization project, you need to determine if you are merely scanning these items to provide access, to preserve the information that is held within those records, or both. So I've put a little information about the difference between access and preservation. So access is usually a lower resolution format like a JPEG, which is a widely supported format for photographs, or it could be a PDF for documents. And this is just a slightly lower quality or a smaller version that helps your ability to share the material online. Underneath that, I have information about a preservation copy. A common standard format is the tagged image file format, or TIFF. And this is a high resolution, platform independent, and widely supported format that can be used for your preservation copy. But they are very large files. They can be dozens of megabytes. I was just scanning some for a scanning day the other day, and they were coming out at 35 megabytes. And I know that on my email, I can only share 25 megabytes at a time. So this preservation copy can be scanned and used to create those access copies. So you need to consider, are you looking to create a preservation copy to protect that informational content of the material in your custody, or are you just looking for access? Another
Jane,
important, yes,
Jane, shouldn't you have the JPEG copy for the online access and then TIFF for your file access in case you have to make reprints of
perfect.
things?
Absolutely correct. Thank you, Pat. That is the way to go. If you are doing a digitization project for preservation, you would have that. Let me go back to the slide. You would have that preservation copy that you would keep. And is anybody familiar with the 3-2-1 rule? This is a digital preservation practice to keep 3 copies of a file at 2 locations or two different storage types with one at a different location. So this is to protect that informational content. Secondly, you can create an access copy from that preservation copy and use that for your online uses, for sharing with your audience for research or other reasons. And then if you need to, you can make additional copies from that preservation copy. Um, However, some people may not see a need for a preservation copy. Their only purpose for the project is to provide access to put them up online. So that's something that at VHRP we would be happy to discuss with you and determine what your needs are. When we are working on a scanning project, for example, the community scanning bees that we help to host with communities around Vermont, we usually recommend that they do have a preservation copy. So when I helped out in Brookline, in Franklin, in Sharon this year, we created TIFF format files initially, and then afterwards I would make derivatives or the JPEG copies from those TIFF files and provide those to the community so that they could provide that public access to those materials. Did that answer your question, Pat?
No, it wasn't. I was just making the comment since um, we're going to be printing out some of our photos for exhibits.
Wonderful.
So
Yes,
usually the lower res ones don't work. They're just garbage and you can't use it. So if you have a TIFF um, with a lot of megabytes there, then you can go ahead and make a print.
that's a really good point, Pat. Thank you for bringing that up. And Pat's absolutely right. You do get a higher quality copy from the TIFF. You can make those higher resolution choices to create that wall content in the larger format. All right, this I think is one of the most important things to consider when you're working on your project is selecting materials to scan. Um, when I first started working on digitizing materials, I wanted to scan it all. It just seemed like the answer to everything, that I could scan it. I would be able to search everything very easily. But one issue with that is scanning and describing that scan material and then maintaining that scan material takes up a lot of time and resources. So prioritizing what you will scan will really help to make your project more feasible, more successful over time. And things to consider when you're selecting those materials is historical significance. Are these materials important to your organization? Are they documents that were created or photographs created by a founder or a person that has a historical connection to your organization? Condition is another one. Oftentimes, um, uh, when working in archival reference rooms, we actually have a rule, and I've mainly worked in government archives, so they have public access. One of the reasons that we would not provide access is condition. If handling the material would be damaging to the content or to the object, we would usually say that we would not be able to provide access to that. If the condition is good enough to get a scan or to create a digital copy, this is a way that you can circumvent that access issue. So if you have photographs that are um, in poor condition, or they may be in a photo album that's in poor condition that shouldn't be handled, scanning can be an option to improve that public access to those materials. And also consider demand. You may have a collection of um, uh, photos of your community or an important family or an important event that happened in your community. And that might be the place to start with a digitization project, is to identify those high demand items that people ask for all the time. Again, this goes back to handling. Handling the physical materials over time can be deleterious to the materials, but having a digital copy that you can provide for people to view is a way to help with that. All right. So the Vermont Historical Records Program has a mobile digitization unit. And what this is it is a selection of scanning equipment that we maintain. and can provide on loan at no cost to organizations for projects. So this includes scanning equipment that can scan slides, glass plate negatives, photographs, documents. We have a scanner that can um, scan up to, I believe it's 11 by 20. And we also have copy stands and a copy stand and a digital camera, excuse me, that can be placed above the object and then taking a photo from above, which might be more useful for a delicate volume, maybe a scrapbook or a journal that you don't want to place upside down and flat on a scanning bed. With the mobile digitization unit, we also provide training on how to operate the equipment. I can come down and visit your location and help train community members or volunteers that are helping with the project. And we also, and this comes before loaning the equipment, before the training, but providing assistance with developing your project. So again, this is part of our mission, is to create more public access to these historical records. So we do ask that scanned materials can be made available online, um, also able to be easily found, browsed, and searched. And we have a lot of options that we can help you determine what would be best for your organization. And that can be found in a project worksheet that was created. This project worksheet is something that I would provide to you along with consultation on developing your program, and it goes over some of the questions that we talked about today. Foundations of the project. What is the purpose of the project? Who's the audience? um, Selection of the materials, the digitization process, figuring out the logistics. Where will the project take place? What equipment will we be using? Um, who will be working on the different aspects of the project? Storage and preservation of the digital files. So helping you identify where to store them, how to document that, and also preservation over time, and then sharing and assessing those digitized materials. Again, providing different examples of how you could uh, provide access to that material on an organizational website, on social media, even on the Internet Archive, which is an interesting way to go. And also reviewing the project and its impact on your organization and the community.
Jane, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
About, and I'm apologies, I'm sure all of your information does cover this. How much sort of lead time do you need to say, let's just say hypothetically, I decided, next summer I'm going to get an intern specifically to digitize one collection. Sort of how much advance notice do you need in terms of, getting this equipment on loan?
Yeah, so the equipment itself, we wouldn't need that much time, but I'd recommend, starting the project now, getting the logistics out of the way, and
Mhm.
just starting on figuring out those foundations. Um, Examples could be, you know, is the stuff copyrighted? What are we actually going to be scanning? Where are we going to put it? So that could all be started now, and then the equipment, we can have that loaned out for training and for the project. Um, I think right now we have, I think, 4 scanners that aren't in use at this time. So
Okay.
it's, yeah, we could get that done pretty quickly. And
Awesome.
also, if you're thinking about doing something this fall, and I'm putting this out to the group, you don't need 8 months to figure out this project. We could do it on a more expedited track, and get that equipment out to you as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, very short. I didn't go through every part of a digitization project. Just want to get those big questions out and have people start thinking about what they're wanting to scan. Also give a little bit of information about our project. And of course, if you have any questions or if you want to start a digitization project, please let me know. I'd be happy to get that started. There is one thing I wanted to show you, and apologies again for the infinity view. This is just an example of some of the material that I would send out. Um, this is a project plan, and it just goes through those questions. So you start thinking about that stuff, because there really are many steps to a digitization project. It's not overly complicated, but it's great to have these things thought out ahead of time. It really helps to make your project more of an impact, more successful. And of course, any questions, um, we're happy to answer those or go further. One of the parts that I discussed at the end was how to provide access to those materials. So we even have a small boilerplate about different examples. We also have options through the Vermont Historical Records Program. We do maintain a digital repository where we do provide access to other. Let me just go to for other organizations' materials. So I'm just on the Vermont Historical Records Program website. We've got some really great resources here, and I am going to go into Explore. And let's see. Here's collaborations. Let me go back. Oh, I'm the wrong one. I should have pulled this up ahead of time because I always am looking for the spot. One moment. There we go. And I'll send this link out as well. This is the VHRP digital repository. So we have some different types of collections on here from Barnett Historical Society. We have a wonderful collection of Bernie memes that the Vermont Folklife Center collected over time. We also have some different collections, COVID-19 collections, inventories, and also finding aids. We're working on a project to upload the South Londonderry Free Public Library's collection of Everett Vale glass plate negatives, which will be up there. So this is just an example of an option for providing that access to your patrons. All right. And I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. All right. Are there any questions, or is anybody working on a digitization project right now?